Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching X-Men 97 Episode 3, Fire Made Flesh. So, when it comes to the other Jean Grey that we saw enter the mansion at the end of the first two episodes, turns out this is a clone of Jean Grey. A clone created by Mr. Sinister, who's played by Chris Britton, who apparently voiced Mr. Sinister back in the original X-Men cartoon. He was a villain in one of the later seasons, and Morph would know all about him considering that Morph unfortunately met him back in the previous X-Men seasons. Mr. Sinister, for those who do not know, is a villain who slices apart mutants to create his genetically perfect creations. He's also the boss of the Marauders in the comics, and he was also the main villain of the Deadpool video game. So that's the extent of what I know about him. And Chris Britton's voice definitely delivers the gravitas that Mr. Sinister needs, considering that he sounds honestly pretty terrifying as him, about as much as he did in the 90s. So anyways, this Jean clone, named Madelyne Pryor, is also mind-controlled by Mr. Sinister in order to bring Nathan over to him so he can basically use him for his experiments. Madelyne Pryor names herself the Goblin Queen, and Jean has to fight her mind to mind in order to break Sinister's influence of her. Especially since this Madelyne did actually fight a ton of Jean's battles where we thought that was the actual Jean when it turns out it wasn't. So Jean has to relearn how to use her powers while fighting Madelyne, and the X-Men have to save Nathan when it turns out he ends up infected with a techno-organic virus due to the incomplete experiment that Mr. Sinister put him through. This, of course, will lead to Nathan Summers becoming Cable in the series, and honestly, I'm interested to see how they handle Cable. Because Bishop takes him over to the future, which means that explains Cable's whole deal. Since Cable also appeared in the Deadpool video game, I kind of know everything that there is to know about him, especially since he was also a character in Deadpool 2. So yeah, this series seems to be adapting a ton of storylines that I really wanted to see adapted for a while. And while it does happen to change up Madelyne Pryor's story arcs and her entire character backstory, I still think they got the basics of her personality down. And I like the fact that Jennifer Hale voices her as well as Jean, considering that it adds to the clone connection and it just gives us more excuses to hear Jennifer Hale as Jean, which I think any excuse for that is fine, considering she does a great job in both roles. Also, Storm's in a bar at the end, and we see her with Forge, played by Gil Birmingham. And that's another character who I am aware of in other X-Men properties, such as X-Men Destiny. I didn't expect Forge to appear this early, but I'm interested in seeing how he's going to work with Storm, considering I know with Forge, if he can think of anything, odds are he can make it for you. He's the ultimate guy when it comes to building stuff. So maybe he can build something to help Storm regain her powers, which would be neat. So while this series does happen to pick and choose from the comic history and alter things when they're needed, it still feels faithful enough in the respect that the original 90s series did. Not to mention, Studio Mir does an absolutely brilliant job with the animation, especially in Jean's mind-to-mind battle with Madelyne. Studio Mir previously did the Legend of Korra series, and you can definitely tell when it comes to some of the fights. They're brutal, they definitely have a lot of style, and especially when it comes to the illusions that take place in the X-Men Mansion, they have a lot of creativity when it comes to the visuals. So along with having the fun character personalities, you get the imaginative visuals that you'd want to see from a Studio Mir production. So after Cable's been sent to the future, Forge is helping Storm, and Jean has seen off her clone, what could possibly be next? I'm really interested and curious, considering the changes they made here. So see you next time.